Imagine being stranded in one of the most dangerous jungles on Earth, completely alone, with no food, no water, and predators lurking just out of sight. For 19 days, Yossi Ginsberg fought for his life in the Amazon rainforest, battling hunger, deadly rivers, and the merciless wilderness itself. This is the true story of survival against impossible odds. Yossi Ginsberg had always been drawn to adventure. At 23, he left his home in Israel and flew to South America in search of the unknown. He wanted to see the world, explore untouched lands, and feel truly alive. What he didn't know was that the Amazon rainforest, vast and unforgiving, would test him in ways he never imagined. Along with two companions, Marcus and Kevin, Yossi set out to explore what was said to be uncharted territory. The jungle was dense and humid, rivers ran fast, and insects swarmed like relentless clouds. At first, the trio laughed off the hardships, joking about mosquitoes and the heat. But soon, the forest revealed its darker side. One afternoon, the group came to a raging river. Marcus insisted they cross it to reach a hidden settlement. Kevin hesitated. Yossi, driven by curiosity and determination, followed. They built makeshift rafts and set off, but the current was merciless. Within moments, the river tore them apart. Yossi found himself alone, swept downstream, battered, and terrified. For 19 days, Yossi survived entirely on instinct. He drank water, collected from leaves, caught fish with improvised spears, and ate whatever he could find in the forest, including insects and nuts. Every step he took could have been his last. Each night, the jungle came alive with sounds that made him question his sanity. The screech of predators, the crashes of animals moving unseen, the ever-present drip of water from the canopy. At one point, he nearly stepped into a pit of quicksand. His heart raced as he struggled to free himself, realizing how close death had come. But with each challenge, he became more attuned to the jungle's rhythm. He learned where to find water, how to navigate without a map, and how to keep hope alive even when exhaustion threatened to take him. Finally, Yossi stumbled upon a small village. His appearance shocked the villagers. He was gaunt, scratched, covered in mud and leaves, but they recognized him as a survivor. They gave him food, water, and medical attention. He had endured 19 days alone in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Looking back, Yossi said the jungle taught him a vital lesson. Survival is not just about courage or strength. It's about resilience, adaptability, and holding on to hope when everything seems lost. His story has inspired adventurers and survivalists around the world, a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure against impossible odds. Being alone in the Amazon rainforest is unlike anything most people can imagine. Yossi felt it immediately. The oppressive heat, the thick humidity, the constant sound of insects that seemed to whisper warnings in every direction. Every step he took was a risk. The forest floor was treacherous. Mud could trap him, roots could trip him, and rivers could sweep him away again in an instant. Food and water became his first priority. He had no tools beyond his bare hands and a small knife. He learned to collect rainwater in leaves and discovered edible nuts and berries, though he was always careful, knowing one wrong bite could be fatal. Insects became a source of protein, though eating them was far from pleasant. Hunger gnawed at him, but fear of poisonous. Plants and hidden predators kept him cautious. The nights were worse than the days. Darkness brought sounds that seemed to surround him. The screeching of monkeys, the rustle of snakes, and the occasional roar of jaguars or pumas. Sleep became dangerous. He often slept lightly, one eye open, ready to react to any sudden movement. And the isolation began to weigh on him psychologically. Talking to himself became a way to fight the creeping fear and despair. Despite the constant danger, Yossi adapted. He made shelter from branches and leaves, protecting himself from rain and insects. He fashioned crude spears to catch fish in small streams and learned to recognize landmarks to avoid getting hopelessly lost. Each small victory gave him a sliver of hope, a reminder that he could survive. He also had close calls. At one point, he nearly stepped into a hidden pit of quicksand, his foot sinking in seconds. Panic surged through him, but he managed to pull free and took the moment as a lesson. The jungle was always ready to punish carelessness. With every danger he faced, he grew more cautious, more aware, more determined to live. Yossi knew he couldn't stay in one place for long. The forest was relentless, and standing still could mean death. He had to keep moving, keep searching for a way out, and keep believing that survival was possible. Hope, he realized, was just as important as food or water. It was the fuel that kept him going. As the days passed, hunger became a constant companion. Yossi's body grew weaker, his skin sunburned and scratched by the forest's unforgiving undergrowth. He learned to survive on whatever he could find: nuts, berries, and sometimes fish, caught with his crude spear. Insects, though repulsive, were a necessary source of protein. Each meal was a victory, but it barely kept him alive. The psychological toll was immense. The forest is a place that challenges not just the body, but the mind. Shadows and sounds played tricks on him. Every rustle of leaves, every distant screech of an animal made him jump, heart pounding. He began talking to himself constantly, recounting his memories, imagining the people waiting for him, using thoughts of home as a shield against the creeping despair. Sleep remained difficult. Nights were pitch dark, filled with the sounds of unseen creatures. Yossi slept in hollowed trees or under makeshift shelters, never fully letting his guard down. One wrong movement, and a jaguar or snake could be deadly. Exhaustion and fear often collided, leaving him in a near hallucinatory state. But even in the darkest moments, Yossi learned resilience. He discovered small streams and puddles, learned which plants were edible, and avoided dangerous terrain. Every day brought a new lesson. He realized that survival was less about heroics and more about patience, observation, and adaptation. Each close call reminded him of the jungle's relentless nature. Once, he slipped while crossing a stream, nearly being swept away by the current. Another time, a nest of aggressive ants covered his arm, forcing him to run blindly through the forest to escape the bites. The Amazon did not forgive mistakes, and Yossi's body bore the evidence of every encounter. Still, he kept moving. Even with hunger gnawing at him and fear pressing in from all sides, he pressed onward, following instinct, using whatever knowledge he could gather from his environment. Hope remained his constant companion, the invisible thread that tied him to life, keeping him alive even when everything seemed hopeless. By the second week, Yossi's body had grown weak, but his mind was sharper than ever. Every day in the jungle was a delicate balance between caution and necessity. One wrong step could mean falling into a river, stepping on a venomous snake, or becoming prey to the forest's predators. He had learned that survival was not about bravery alone. It was about observation, intuition, and respect for the jungle. Food remained scarce, and hunger gnawed at him relentlessly. He had grown adept at fishing with his makeshift spear, catching small fish from shallow streams, and scavenging for nuts and berries. Even insects became a vital source of protein. Despite the discomfort, Yossi embraced each meal as a small victory. Water was another constant challenge. He drank from streams cautiously, filtering water through leaves and cloth, aware that contaminated water could kill as easily as a predator. Sleep was brief and uneasy. Each night the forest transformed. Noises seemed closer, more menacing. The distant roar of a jaguar, the chittering of monkeys, and the constant drip of rain created a symphony of fear that kept him alert. Yet he adapted, finding hollow trees and dense foliage to rest under, always keeping his senses on edge. Perhaps the most terrifying moment came when Yossi nearly fell into a hidden pit of quicksand. His heart raced as he struggled to pull free, the jungle seeming almost to laugh at his vulnerability. But each close call was also a lesson, teaching him patience, caution, and the importance of maintaining hope even in despair. Throughout it all, Yossi talked to himself constantly, recounting memories of home and imagining the faces of his family and friends. These mental anchors kept him from succumbing to panic or hopelessness. The forest was alive with danger, but he realized that fear itself could be managed if he focused on survival, one step at a time. By now, Yossi had transformed. The boy who had entered the jungle seeking adventure had become a survivor, attuned to the rhythms of the Amazon, patient, resilient, and cautious. Every day tested him physically and mentally, yet it also strengthened his resolve. Survival was no longer just a goal, it was a way of living, a relentless commitment to continue, despite every obstacle. As the days stretched on, exhaustion and hunger became relentless companions. Yossi's body was battered. Scratches and bruises covered his arms and legs, his clothes were torn and caked in mud, and every step through the dense forest required immense effort. Yet, he refused to give in. Every day was a fight, and he fought with everything he had. Food was still scarce, but Yossi had become resourceful. He caught fish, foraged for edible plants, and even learned to eat insects without hesitation. Each meal was modest, but it kept him alive. Water was collected in leaves and puddles after rainstorms, and he filtered it carefully to avoid sickness. Every act of survival was a combination of ingenuity, observation, and sheer willpower. Isolation, however, was the hardest part. The forest's immense scale made him feel insignificant, and the constant threat of predators never left his mind. Yossi often spoke aloud to himself, recounting memories, reciting songs, and imagining conversations with friends. These mental exercises became essential lifelines to maintain his sanity. Danger lurked everywhere. One misstep could mean falling into a fast-moving river or encountering a snake hidden beneath leaves. Another time, he narrowly avoided a jaguar, hearing its growl just moments before disappearing into the trees. Each encounter reminded him that the jungle demanded respect and vigilance at all times. Despite the fear and hardship, Yossi's determination never wavered. He knew that survival depended on movement and adaptability. He learned to read the forest, recognizing which plants were safe, which areas were dangerous, and where water could be found. Each day was a careful calculation of risk versus necessity, and with every passing hour he became more skilled and more resilient. Even in these dire circumstances, hope was his guiding light. Thoughts of rescue, of returning home, and of sharing his story with the world kept him moving forward. Yossi understood something vital. Survival is not just physical, it is mental. As long as he held on to hope, he had a chance. On the 19th day, Yossi finally stumbled upon a small village. His appearance shocked the locals. Gaunt, scratched, and covered in mud and leaves, but they immediately recognized that he was alive against impossible odds. They fed him, gave him water, and treated his injuries. After nearly 3 weeks alone in the Amazon, Yossi had survived. Looking back, he realized that his ordeal was more than just a test of endurance. The jungle had stripped him to his core, teaching him the raw truths of life and survival. Strength and courage were necessary, but resilience, observation, and hope were equally vital. He had learned to adapt, to respect the power of nature, and to rely on his instincts. Yossi's story spread quickly, becoming one of the most famous survival accounts of modern times. It was a testament to human determination, a reminder that, even in the most extreme circumstances, the human spirit can endure. People were inspired not just by his survival, but by the lessons he had learned along the way. That hope, patience, and resilience are the keys to overcoming life's most formidable challenges. Today, Yossi Ginsberg continues to share his story with the world, inspiring adventurers, survivalists, and ordinary people alike. His journey is proof that even in the face of overwhelming danger, life can be preserved through courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding will to survive. The Amazon had tested him, nearly broken him, but ultimately it could not defeat him. Yossi Ginsberg's 19 days alone in the Amazon weren't just a battle against hunger and danger, they were a test of the human spirit. He survived because of resilience, hope, and the will to keep moving forward, even when every instinct told him to give up. His story reminds us that no matter how impossible the challenge, courage and determination can carry us through. The jungle may be unforgiving, but the human spirit, when pushed to its limits, is unstoppable.